mission now. I'm on a mission now. I'm on a mission now. I'm on a mission now.
How's it guys, Warwick here. I'm invited by the mission to show you guys how to service a Shilton reel or any cork drag reel like a Able or a T-ball or any of that sort of lot. You're going to need a couple of things. Some Colton roll or kitchen towel, some marine or waterproof grease. I use corrosion block, some break and parts cleaner or something similar to that, some Reel Fast, or you can use Reel X, or probably 3-in-1 oil will probably be fine. Q-tips or earbuds. And then a lot of people tell you need neat foot oil for a cork drag reel. I respectfully disagree. That over there. I use Cul's drag grease instead. Then a flat screwdriver just in case things are a little bit tight to get apart. And then a Scriber just in case, just to get into the little bits to take out old salt or dirt or anything like that. And of course a reel. So quite simple with most of these. You've got the center lock nut. Just take that off. Then the drag knob. The center pin. Spool. And then on the Shilton specifically, and I can't speak for the others, there's a little O-ring here that retains the drag plate. Just work it off gently so that it doesn't go flying across the rim. So now you've got your drag plate, your reel frame, and your spool. Now I just like to go through everything, give it a good clean, make sure there's no old salt and dirt and grime and grease depending on how old the reel is. Clean it up nicely. And then in the back of the bearings, I'll take a bit of the break and parts cleaner, just spray it into the cap. Take a Q-tip, wet it up in there a bit. Then you can get into all your little spots and just clean out the seals of the bearing. When you do this, just make sure you give it time to evaporate, otherwise you're putting oil and grease over it, which doesn't really work particularly well. Do the same here. So we've got quite a bit of grease on, so we'll just carry on with the clean side again. Make sure it's clean. Clean that up. Another piece of this. Make sure you got all the old mess out of there. And again, all of this comes down to how OCD you are, I suppose. Make sure those are nice and dry. Test the bearings that they're still not gritty. And then I'll just check the pulls, and this reel is 3. Just check that they're all moving freely. First thing I'd normally do is just give them each a quick shot of oil just to keep them lubed up. No need to go in there unless they're stuck or gritty. Just a little bit, not too much. That's a drop a piece. When you go into the start of the drag plate, doesn't really matter. Make sure it's nice and clean. Everything's still where it should be. I normally just wipe the bearings with clean. You can feel them just to make sure they're not rough. Make sure they're free of dirt and everything else. Same with the spool. Just clean the bearings up a little bit. Get in in there. Guys, just note this is a basic service. If bearings are gone, it's a slightly more involved process. We'll get to that some other time. Got it all nice and clean. So now what I like to do, take a bit of the Reel Fast or Reel X or whatever you've got. A bit of Reel X on all the seals of the bearings. It's probably some people will probably argue with me, but I can't see the harm in having extra oils in there, especially for a reel that's going to get dunked a lot. And I normally leave that to sit a little while. Just take that oil out. Obviously you only want the oil in the bearing. Dry those faces up nicely. And what I find, probably not common practice, but I use the corrosion block, the Q-tip, as effectively as a seal around the bearing, especially for reels that get fished on the flats and get lots of dunking work. It's not really on a rotating part, so it doesn't worry me. I know lots of people go on about too much grease on a reel, but I've never had a problem. So now here, just make sure you don't get it on the drag face. And if you just wipe it up, because that oil, that grease is different. Right. Again, be careful, especially on this side where the cork is. You don't want to get too much on here. Okay, and you just take the Coles grease, take a tiny bit on your hand. You don't want too much at all. Massage it in between your fingers and then just rub it into the cork. It's not a case of having to see the grease at all. You just need to know that there's been a treatment, sort of like polishing a shoe, I suppose. You can see it takes on a slightly different color. Okay, you don't want to feel or see the grease heavily while you're doing this. Then you're pretty much done. Slide your drag plate on. The O-ring, provided you haven't lost it. If you have, it's not the end of the world. Just don't take your spool off in the field. You're going to tighten this up. This is not something you have to make overly tight. Last thing you want to be doing is struggling with this on a trip, so just nip it up so it doesn't come loose. Back the drag off like you should with all cork drags, you're back in business.